everyone.
Hello,
Hello and welcome to our live stream.
everybody.
Today, of course, we're talking about the Mayall Comedy Festival. Let's see, I'll get my PowerPoint up. I've been very organized.
Nice.
Not that. Slides. I was just connecting. I haven't used it in a while, so it's asking me to log back into things.
It's no worries.
Okay, I'll start off with the comments. Hello! What stories about Rick did you hear from people in Droitwich who knew him? Well, in the Norbury Theatre, which we'll talk about a lot in this video. For those of you who don't know, I think both of his parents were drama teachers. Well, I know both of his parents were involved in the amateur productions in the theatre there. But they have a theatre just for amateur productions that's like owned by the community. But they do, but I think one of them was a drama teacher. But anyway, so his parents were involved in the productions at the theatre there, which is how it was his first stage. It was the first stage that he was on. He used to operate the spotlight there because it's a tiny theatre, and the only people who could fit in the spotlight box were children. So when he was a teenager there, he would do that. They're not allowed to put any people there anymore for health and safety reasons. It's like they'd need a chaperone in there, and it's like a tiny cupboard. You can't fit an adult in there, let alone an adult and a teenager. But a lovely story was that his parents, I think the rest of their lives, worked there, and he would still come back to Norbury and see productions, and he would go and he would make sure he arrived just after it started, go in through the stage door, and then go up and watch it from the lighting box. And he made sure he left early so that he wouldn't the people wouldn't see him, and he wouldn't detract any attention from the audience there. And especially when you know how much Rick loved the audience and loved being spotted in public and talking to fans, that really means a lot, because it's not, he's clearly not that he's just not someone who wants to avoid the public in general, because he was anything but. And if he liked the production, he'd then also come back and say hi. He's got a sister who still lives in Droitwich. I think both of his parents have passed away now, but his sister still lives in Droitwich. I think he had two sisters and a brother. I've met his sister, but I can't remember. I think I've met one of his sisters, but I don't think I've met anyone else from his family except Rick's daughter Bonnie, which I will definitely talk about. But yeah, that's the one that sticks out in my mind this minute. Good evening. I brought you both a Sunday fish finger. That's a bottom reference for anyone who doesn't know.
Have you got any videos?
Yes, we've got a video. I do have some videos. I made sure I went and got some permissions to show some. Those channels that just show where people just are like backpacking and they just like do videos of them walking around a different town. Someone filmed that the day before the festival and had no idea that it was on.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, I'm going to show some footage from that. Anyway, we haven't done the introductions. Amy, would you like to introduce yourself? And I know you haven't seen a lot of Rick stuff, so introduce the amount of context you know about Rick stuff.
Hello, guys. I've only made probably not that many videos that involve Rick. I'm a bit of the odd one out here. I got Enchanted S's as my expert because I know absolutely nothing, but I'm here for fun. So,
Well, you've seen the young ones, and you've seen
Yes,
No Not
obviously. Yeah, I
Them.
have. Yeah.
Have you seen anything else that he's been in?
I did recently watch Drop Dead Fred, so
Hmm. I
not
have
as
to know.
bad
What
as
do you
everyone
think
said
of
it
it?
was. It was really good, actually. I actually enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like it's either a film that people either find really annoying, or it's a film that will change your life.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only two responses people have to it. Um. Anyway, I just realised I forgot to. Are you on Reddit?
Me? No.
Okay. Is anyone in the chat on Reddit?
We
Just
got
because
any
I
Redditors
haven't,
in the chat?
just because I haven't posted the um, I haven't posted the stream to Reddit. I mean, I posted it um when I announced that I was doing the Q&A yesterday, but I
Mm.
haven't posted it just now. Um, also not on Reddit. Lol, not a problem. I can just do that now quickly. So anyone in the chat? Did anyone in the chat go to the Rick Mayall Comedy Festival? And if not, what did you hear anything about the Rick Mayall Comedy Festival before I announced this stream?
I didn't even know this was a thing, honestly.
Well, it only started last year, so I didn't make any videos or anything in it last year, but I was there last year, but only for the last weekend. So it's 9 days,
Mm.
and it's in Droitwich, which is the town where Rick grew up. And we'll talk about the town in a bit, but it's a very small town. It's definitely not the kind of place that's on the up and up. It's a place that it's like one of those places where like the industry their main industry has died, and well, I think there are some factories and stuff around there. It's sort of on the outskirts of Birmingham.
Hmm.
I think it's like a half an hour train ride from Birmingham. And yeah, I don't know. No, it's closer to Worcester. Um, so it's between Worcester and Birmingham, basically. So it's in the Midlands. And have you seen any Kevin Turvey, Amy?
No, I have not. I feel like the odd one out in this stream.
Anyway, there's a character called Kevin Turvey who is from Redditch, which is a town nearby. I was thinking of going to Redditch, but I just didn't get around to it any in the end. I don't drive, so obviously I would have had to have had, had to have persuaded my friends to just go on a day trip. Well, not on a day trip, but just on a quick detour to there.
The comments.
Okay, can you read them out to me, please?
I am curious, as a newbie to Rick, what do you think of him? I think this is directed towards me. What do I think of him? I think he's funny.
Yeah.
I think he's very good at improv because of Drop Dead Fred. It's very good, which I agree with the other comment that he is a good spirit animal.
Well, actually, apparently, I've just been reading about this. He didn't improvise a lot on Drop Dead Fred. He
Oh,
had some
really?
input. Yeah, he had input in the script. Not enough for him to have a screen credit, but he did have some
Hmm.
input in the script. But yeah, once they'd finalized the script, he really stuck to that.
I would never have guessed, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what else. Yeah, definitely try and go next year. It's just such a shame. George over on Headphones UK. I think he's not here tonight because he's got a video premiere coming up later today. 8:30, I think. We might finish in time for people to watch that, although I'm not sure. But anyway, he's got he was emigrating to Canada just before just before the like it was in April, and the festival began in late May. So it's really unfortunate. Hopefully he'll be here for the next one, especially as he's just started stand up, and they do have a fringe festival with lots of stand up there. So
Oh,
yeah,
we got a new
hopefully he'll
comment.
be there next time. Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think of Mayall's character voices for animated movies like Wind in the Willows, etc.? I haven't seen Wind in the Willows. I've heard it's a good adaptation.
I
But
haven't heard that either. Now I'm gonna Google it.
um,
Wind in the
and
Willows.
have you not heard of the Wind in the Willows?
Again, you guys can tell. Everyone can tell now that I'm very uncultured.
It's what the Disneyland ride. It's a famous book. It's what the Disneyland ride, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, is based on.
Oh, that! You
The
know, yeah, I
film,
do know that. I just didn't know Rick was in it.
yeah. So there's been it's in the public domain. So there's a lot of films of it, though I'm not sure how
Uh,
long it's in the public domain. But yeah, he voiced Toad in that. There's a fantastic animated short we're going to talk about in a minute that he narrates called "Don't Fear Death." That's really good. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Obviously, the film I reviewed with George, aka Headphones UK, at Christmas, The Snow Queen, which is dreadful. I've read. He does give a great performance in that. Um, and actually, I've been reading a fantastic book that I bought at the festival, which I'll talk about later. And it has some lovely anecdotes from people who worked with him when he was doing voice acting. And he was the kind of performer who absolutely loved acting. You know, he would like say yes to anything, absolutely anything. But anyway, let's see what else.
I actually did find out that Rick read a book in a show called Jackanery. I don't know how I found out this show, but like
Yeah,
in the 80s he read a Roald Dahl book called George's Marvelous Medicine, and I was like, "Oh
yeah.
wow, I should tell you that." And I did.
Yes, I reviewed a series that was basically greenlit because before his performance on that show is so good. So they have a different celebrity reading a book every week.
Yeah.
Um, but that one is like particularly famous for how good it is.
Mm.
He's just so vibrant and animated in that. So yes, I definitely recommend I definitely recommend that. So Grim Tales is the series that he did. It was basically like Jack and Nori, but with him reading Tales of the Brothers Grimm. So yeah, his talent as a storyteller is so brilliant. He's a really like dynamic performer. Anyway, have you seen the Dangerous Brothers? I have. I haven't seen all of the Saturday Live sketches. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'll get around to watching it. But like, I've seen the stuff that they like their early stuff, like the comic strip club era, and I've seen some of their Saturday Live stuff, including the Sex, which is I think it's called
Hmm.
Sex, which is the sketch that Channel 4, despite its reputation for being, you know, the more avant-garde channel, refused to show, which of course meant on VHS they were able to go banned from the BBC. Oh, not from the BBC, banned from Channel 4. You know, bonus sketch. But anyway, Amy, have you seen the Dangerous Brothers?
The Dangerous Brothers. There's a well, let me first Google it to refresh my memory. If I haven't, then we'll know because
It's
because
this
I don't
double
know.
act that Rick and Aid did. So
Mm,
Adrian Edmondson, the guy who played Vivian in The Young Ones. And this was they did this with my at the same time they were working in the comedy clubs, which is how my friend Peter first met them.
mm.
Uh, so but yeah,
Yeah,
just sort of very angry, shouty, loud, ridiculous.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm a bit upset that none of this popped up when I was first making these videos.
mm,
If these popped up while I was making my first 3 videos, there would have been a lot more videos, honestly.
mm. Yeah, I highly recommend the Dangerous Brothers if you like.
Yeah, I'll plan it on my schedule. I definitely got to do that at some point.
Because it was one of the live things they did that inspired the young ones because it basically inspired the character of Vivian.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, Vivian. I love
uh,
Vivian.
Also, this is Lou. Yeah, I recognize your profile picture. My channel's had a couple of facelifts since the last stream at the end of last year. Yeah, it's been ages since we've done a stream, hasn't it?
Hmm.
I looked at the streaming banners and stuff, and they're all like from the like Halloween ones. Didn't even do any around Christmas. Did the Mighty Boosh acknowledge any influence from Rick? Not that I know of, but I wouldn't be surprised. They have acknowledged influence from the Monkeys, though. Have you heard of the Mighty Boosh, Amy? Amy? Hello?
Monkeys. Because I love the
Oh, sorry,
monkeys.
you
See,
cut
I
out
know that, guys. I'm not that uncultured. The
there.
monkeys.
But yeah, the Mighty Boosh, they're good to watch if you like the Monkeys as well, because they were definitely influenced by them. They're sort of whimsical comedy for adults, and has this lovely sort of handmade quality to it. A bit of stuff that hasn't aged well in it. Lots of use of the R word.
Ah,
Um,
well,
but yeah,
yeah.
I definitely recommend it. And the guy who directed it ended up directing Paddington and Wonka.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Oh, this came out in 2004, The Mighty Boosh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was a baby. I don't think I would know. I was probably like only a couple, I don't know, days or months old. I
Oh,
was born
Lou,
in April, so yeah.
hello there, Jesse. I don't know if you're new or not. Lewis, I have seen The Snow Queen. Even though it's not one of the best films, it was probably good for the time. Yeah, I mean, for something straight to video, like I know that the standards for straight to video are through the floor, so
Yeah.
I think probably for a straight to video film, it's all right. I did it with George, who I think has seen some of that director's other work. Like he had his own studio, and some of his other work apparently is had like a higher quality,
Hmm.
and like a lot of comedy of I mean, like a lot of animation, of course, it's they end up doing like the in-betweening and stuff in overseas. So I think it was I think it was like a lower quality the overseas studio that they were using. But still, like in terms of like the script, the jokes, the comedy, the songs, pretty bad. But yeah, the standards are definitely, generally speaking, lower. It's the worst animated film that I've seen.
Hmm.
But I'm not seeking out bad animated films. I
I
know that
have,
compared
though,
to
so I have seen bad animated films.
compared to something like a mockbuster, like Ratatouille, or
Oh,
something
yeah, I've seen
like
that, yeah.
something like a Food Fight or Rhapsody Street Kids, like it's I know it's not nearly as bad as any of those, but in terms of things that I have seen, that is the worst animated film I've seen.
Yeah.
Um, Rick was hands down one of the best comedy actors of all time. Yeah, definitely. I love Channel 4 regardless. Talking about the band. Was the Dangerous Brothers prototype for Dreamy Time escorts? They dress somewhat similar and act quite loud and shouty. Yes, that's from a comic strip episode called Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door, and it's really funny. They play these two escorts who have an ad in the newspaper about being escorts. So foreign businessmen call them, and it's just like these two greasy alcoholic guys who just spend their money taking them on a tour around London and just drinking in a load of pubs. It's very funny. I definitely recommend it. The Dangerous Brothers is my latest obsession. What are they doing, honestly, lol? Yeah, especially in the ones where they're doing like stunts and stuff in Saturday Live. They're setting each other on fire.
I think my audio
Uh,
just cut.
and of course, this is like the 80s. They were actually setting each other on fire. Yeah, I missed them too, Lou. Sorry, I'm eating. Dangerous Brothers is Proto Bottom. Mm-hmm. Definitely, I think Mr. Jolly is the thing that's closest to it. But yeah, it is definitely like an evolution of, like, I think the peak of Rick and A's humor was Bottom. Like that sort of loud slapstick stuff. That I think that the best it ever got was Bottom. Um, do you believe Guess Us Parody so to be a direct sequel to Bottom or just an homage to their characters? I believe it's like I know it wasn't intended to be a film version, but it's like it's like they've made it technically not a film version of a sitcom because like intentionally because they want to avoid the stigma because I don't really know if it's the same in the US, but the UK has a really bad reputation for turning sitcoms into films, like since the 1960s, and they haven't done well. So I think they were trying purposefully to avoid that label. But there's no real difference apart from the surnames. They look the same, they have the same first names, they act the same. So like it kind of is and it isn't. Like it's definitely not supposed to be like, I mean, I don't think they gave a shit about canon, but it's definitely not canonical with the TV show. I mean, they die multiple times in the TV show, so that's also not. They weren't bothered with canon there, and they died multiple in like 3 out of the 4 live shows. It said with them dying, so they didn't care about the canon there. So yeah, I don't think you really need to think about it in terms of like head canon. But it is effectively it is a film of Bottom. Eleni, hello. This is Eleni Hadji Daniel. She did some wonderful interviews during the festival, which I'll show here. And she asks, what were your highlights of the festival, and what is it you think brings people back to it? Honestly, the people. Um, I didn't end up seeing a lot. I mean, that's partially because I was there for a full week and seeing stuff costs money. Although there were a lot of free shows, but like most of the time it was just because I was hanging out with my mates. Like I made such great friends there last time. We brought more people into our circle of friends, like Nicole and Stacy, and just spending time with my friends. That was the main event for me. Honestly, it was just so brilliant. Um, and but obviously, like oh, I hadn't even. Sorry, I was just too busy yapping. I hadn't noticed you'd gone. Hello? I think she's still gone. Anyway,
Working at all?
I can hear you very quietly. Sorry, I just missed it. Make sure my phone's on silent. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, the people were the highlights of the festival. Um, and I did have a wonderful. Like if I didn't see a single show, I would have had a wonderful time. Anyway, next time we meet up, let's recreate Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door. That's a joke, of course. Another old English pub. One of the best TV to film adaptations I've seen was Keith Lemon the movie. Oh, I've heard that's so bad. I mean, obviously not really based on a sitcom. He's just more of like a general comedy character. He did like a lot of panel shows and stuff, and I think he had a fake reality TV show, but yeah, I think I haven't seen it, but like I never found Keith Lemon funny, but I've heard that's particularly bad. I think that's Headphones UK said it was one of the worst films he's ever seen, if not the worst. I think that might have been the top of his list. He did a whole week of about the worst films he's ever seen. You're on Discord, aren't you, Amy? Can you hear me? Oh. Anyway, if anyone is on Discord, can they share it to my server, please, and tag everyone? That would be great. Rick, another Rick says, "Well, indeed, there was meant to be a season 4. There was a reference to new season after the last episode of season 3 on BBC Two, I believe. Oh, is that in like the voiceover? But but yeah, I think it was just you know, changing of the guard higher up in the BBC, and it was someone who didn't like Bottom, which is a real shame because it was such a huge show. But you know, of course, when someone new comes in, they want to make their mark on the comedy scene. There, they want to show that they're you know, the new Mr. Big, and they end up cancelling a load of stuff. One of the worst TV to film British comedy adaptations was the Keith Lemon movie. Yeah. Um, yeah, so that's what Lou meant rather than best. It was the worst, but yeah, I knew what you meant. Okay, I'm not sure what's happened to Amy. Oh, is that her coming back in?
Is it working? I can't tell.
Yes.
Wait.
Is there any chance you could? I'll send you the. Actually, it's probably easy for me to. Will you be able to send it the YouTube link to my Discord server and just at everybody, please? Just while I set up. Oh, never mind. Okay, well, let's go through the slides here. So, we're going to show the exhibition a bit first. Here is my friend Katie with some art she did. I've got a closer up picture of this. This is a lovely autographed photo of Rick that's up in the Norbury, that theatre I was talking about where his parents worked. But she'd made this lovely artwork of the Young Ones House. There's an exhibition, a free exhibition in the theatre. If you can only afford to make it to Droitwich and you can't afford to spend any money on seeing any shows there, or there's like one show you can afford to pay money for that's like a headliner show, there's plenty of stuff to do for free. Anyway, there's my friend the Bricktuationist, setting up her Lego models. If anyone isn't listed in the links below, I'll make sure I link them afterwards, because she does make commissions. And she'd made the bottom flat and the Young Ones house. So there's the bottom flat and there's the Young Ones house. There was so much detail packed in here that she had to have a mirror set up to show the whole thing. Amy's audio isn't working. Sorry, I'll just message her. Okay, and these were a bunch of pictures of Rick. They're up in the Norbury. You can see him there doing Godot. That's him there, either on the Young Ones tour or at the Comic Relief special. I think that's him doing stand up there. I mean, they could both have been from the same thing, but I think it's possible it might be one from the other, one from one and one from the other. So that picture of Rick I was talking about, I zoomed in earlier. It said, "For all at the Norbury, love from Rick." You could tell that it's for the theatre his parents work out because famously, you know, whenever he's had an autograph, it's like, "Fuck off," signed Rick, or "My knob is bigger," signed Rick. You know, something like that. Those are some really great Lego sets. My stepdad is really into Lego and he would love something like this. Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. And here is my lovely friend Ellie. She's an artist and she designed all of the merchandise this year. And I've got a video that I will show now. I've got a video. I didn't take a lot of stuff. I wasn't really planning on making a video or anything because I didn't last year and I just wanted to focus on enjoying the place. But let me see, where is it? So I didn't actually spend a lot of time doing that, but okay, is this year or last year? This is a 2025 one. Not sure if I downloaded both of them. I'll just pop up a banner from who this one is from. So thank you very much to Synth John on YouTube, who's the one who filmed all this footage and took all these pictures. when he went this year and last year. So I've got his footage from this year as well. So this is the museum at the Norbury last year. This one was just general Rick stuff, so it was just lots of different memorabilia. You can see Kevin Turvey stuff there and that kind of thing. I got a couple more comments. Ellie, the artist, makes some incredible stuff. I got some bottom stickers and an inside number 9 print that she made. Oh, I must get more stuff from her. I've got lots of badges from her. The lady who did yeah, I'm gonna make sure I link her. I'm going to make sure that I link her account in the description after the stream. So yeah, this is what was in that display case with the Lego set last year. So signed pants from Rick, the comic strip album, loads of other cool stuff. And these costumes here, they were amazing. They were from the the lady who did the art for the festival is Ellie Artie. So these were made by Zoe. I can't remember what her username is. I'll put that in the description afterwards later. Eleni, I don't know if you know her handle, but she's a cosplayer. Oh, there she is. Just caught a bit of her there in the corner there. But she's a cosplayer, and she has these amazing Rick cosplays. Alan Bastard, my beloved. But yeah, really brilliant costumes. And she really looks smart, especially the moustache that she uses for a flash heart. That is really brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to try and find the one for this year because I'm pretty certain I have downloaded it. Yes, I found it now. So this is this year's one.
Oh my God, we see it.
So yes, the lady who did the artwork of the Young One's house at the start of the presentation is Catherine Wade Textiles. Brilliant. Did you see any of Talking Bottoms events? Zoe Reed is that woman's handle. Yes, I wasn't sure of her surname. Thanks, Matt. So I did. I was only at the quiz, I'm afraid. I missed both of the Paul Jackson things. I can't remember why. Aside from the fact that Peter would never forgive me. Oh, so this is inside the shop. So there was a shop inside an abandoned shopping centre, and this was Trevor Rogers, who is a photographer who's now passed away. He did a photo shoot of the comic strip when they were in the comic strip club back in the 80s, in like 81, 82. And so he was he's passed away. His daughter was selling these. The ones in frames, I think all of the ones in frames were ones that he'd made it himself. And those are expensive. I would have bought one if I could have afforded them. They were expensive, of course, especially the ones that her father had framed himself. But she'd included pictures that had never been seen before. That was the only one in color. That's Alexi's Midnight Runners. There's Peter. Actually, Peter and Nigel toured with Dexy's Midnight Runners, the real ones, in the early 80s, doing their comedy act, doing their sketches. Another picture of Alexi's Midnight Runners there. Yeah, Zoe Reed is the one who did the costumes. We'll see some more of her costumes later. Oh, I know, I should have said hello, shouldn't I, Matt? Sorry about that. So yeah, these were all memories of Rick. Of course, a lot of people there were local and knew Rick, at least as like as an acquaintance, or knew the family. So there are a lot of personal ones. There's a really beautiful one from his daughter Bonnie from last year. And I'll show that on screen in a bit, because I've got that. There's not a lot on their website now, because of course all of their stuff about upcoming events is now no longer on there. But I do, but they do still have some of the memories of Rick from last year. So I think these ones are all from this year. The ones on the left hand side. Back to the questions. Talking Bottom events were brilliant. Handle is Talking Bottom. They've also got a book and audio book out now, Talking Bottom, A Guide to the Cult Sitcom. I am really looking forward to listening to their interview with Paul Jackson. They did make a half-hour video just talking generally about it. They also recently did a podcast on Oh No Not Then, which was brilliant. It was also good because, of course, it's not it's we're kind of the only people who've me and Amy were like the only people who've reviewed it, basically. Looks like Amy's not going to rejoin us, by the way. She's still having problems with her laptop. She was using her phone, and then she used her laptop, and that was even worse. So I'm afraid we're Amy-less tonight, or aimless. But I'm sure she can always join in the comments. But yes, I do have the book. I met them at their book signing with the Lenny and the guys. It was in a pub in Hammersmith, of course. There isn't a lamb and flag in Hammersmith. I think it was called like the Hammersmith Ram, maybe? I can't remember. But this was a brilliant book launch they did. They are if you had problems with their book originally, their publisher collapsed. They do have a new publisher now, so that's all sorted. Their book, but yeah, it looks very thorough. I haven't had the chance to read it, but that's mainly because I don't do enough reading. I'm guessing you meant Dexter Minute Runners. Matt says yes, Hammersmith Ram. Matt's one of the 3 people in Talking Bottom. I really highly recommend the podcast. I'm not really a podcast person, but I've listened to a few of their episodes now. And of course, it did give me a shout out on their nasty episode, because they're going through the young ones now that they've finished Bottom. So doing the young ones episode by episode now. Okay. I think he's finishing it now. Sorry, quite a long bit of the video of him writing the memories. Yes, so this was the exhibition this year. This year's of a General Rick exhibition. This was just about the young ones. So they had like memorabilia in the cases, or in like the cases at the bottom of the screen, and then there was art. I think all of the art was for sale. But they were made by a bunch of different artists. That last one painted with VHS tapes. This one here, this is from Dented Star Art. Oh, Stacey! Speaking of the devil, I was literally arrived at your artwork, and then I see your comment. Did you know that before Rick was cast as Fred, Robin Williams was going to play him instead? Yeah, I don't think he was like officially cast. I think he was like who the studio were trying to get. So I think he was in talks, but not like I don't think he was like cast and then left or anything like that. But yeah, I know the screenplay wasn't written. Rick had an input in the screenplay before they started filming, but he didn't write the script. The script was around for a while, and I think was quite heavily rewritten for the film. Anyway, so let's keep going. So yeah, I'll link your Instagram after the stream, Stacey. Also, do let me know if any of the other artists, guys, if you know them. Drop Dead Fred director interview podcast coming in about 3 weeks. Oh wow! Out of everyone Rick related, that's probably who I'd want to interview the most. strangely, because I don't know. I mean, I think it's just because it's such an interesting film, and I think it's a film where like the intentions of it have been kind of misconstrued by people. I mean, especially of course about it being like a kids film, and of course a lot of kids enjoy it, but like it's not who it's aimed at, you know. Um, you can see here we have the Young Ones records. I think a lot of these are quite rare. That's the single for Hole in My Shoe. They're like these novelty shaped records. So I didn't know at first that novelty shaped records were like an old thing. I'd assumed it was kind of like a recent thing with the whole thing of you know, the revival in collecting vinyls. But these are incredible paintings. I mean, especially if you're familiar with the show and you know where they're from. These costumes are so good that the Young Ones producer Paul Jackson asked if they were the real ones, and so many people ask if they were the real ones. But when the producer of the original show is asking if they were the originals, you know they were good ones. Back to the dentist art. Lou says Stacey makes some incredible art. I love what she did with that Young Ones piece. Yeah, looks brilliant. Okay, I love that the Mike one is a Shawson mannequin, and the Vivian one has like broken fingers, so it looks like he's doing the devil's horns. And this one was like for all of the artwork that was like models. So of course we've got the Lego here. And then tickets to various Young Ones related things or things related to the Young Ones cast. And then there are books down the bottom, lots of books from Alexi, obviously. There was I don't think they yeah, there was one that was added later that was like a model a model of Viv's car. These are custom made action figures. Another one of these lower cases that has like memorabilia. So books signed by Rick and Aid of the Young Ones book. That's Katie Wade's art there again. Some of these badges were art was used in the thing. And then he said one of the artists in the exhibition is Oliver Winconeck artist. Lovely, thank you. And that's the flash art costume. There's that picture of Rick I was telling you about. Thomas asks, what of the comic strips with Rick Mayall is your favourite? I love the one with Nicholas Parsons. Nicholas bloody Parsons! Yes, I think that's a good one. I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but Stephen Frears. Oh no, it was there. Maybe it was just there after this person had been there. But yeah, this wasn't there at the beginning of the week. The car. But yeah, Stephen Frears, who directed Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door, like was doing it just because it was a job. He really didn't like the script. So personally, I kind of feel like that indifference to the material comes through in the film. But like I think, you know, a lot of people love that sort of dim, dark, grungy look that it has. So you know, but like stuff like Peter had planned out a whole thing for his scene as Mr. Love Bucket, where he was gonna be doing it sitting down and move across, and then he was just like, "Well, no, we're not gonna do that. That's like a load of fuss. We're just gonna do it one camera. We're just gonna do it over here." And Peter said that really threw him because, you know, he'd planned out what he was going to do for the performance, and he doesn't like his performance. Yes, the exhibition was curated by Andy Hollingworth. He's a big like professional comedy photographer. He has photographed Rick. He actually I was chatting to him. He was with I think he was there with Rick Plant asking Peter to say something, but he was saying, "Oh yeah, I was." He was showing some pictures. He'd taken a lot of official pictures for the event when he was there, but he was also off working. So he was showing me some pictures he'd taken. And I looked at the other pictures on his phone, and I was like, "Is that the cast of Dropout?" So Dropout, for those of you who don't know, it's like the people who used to make College Humor have made their own streaming service. It's basically them doing sort of Taskmaster / Whose Line Is It Anyway type stuff, as well as Dungeons and Dragons. But they were doing a UK tour, and I was like, oh my god, I mean, I'd looked at the UK tour. I was not going to be able to afford the UK tour. Nicholas Bloody Parsons. Stented Star Arts handle for Instagram. Did you get to chat to Ed Bye at all last year? No, I wasn't there for the full week last year, so I wasn't there when they were doing that. I really wanted to be there for that. But yeah, I definitely wanted to be there for that last year. That my only regret last year was not being there for the whole week, so I definitely corrected that this year. Yeah, Dimension 20 and Game Changer. Yeah, and Make Some Noise. Yeah, Make Some Noise. That's a good one. That's the one that's kind of like whose line is it anyway? But yeah, drop out, brilliant. Anyway, so um back to the PowerPoint. So we saw some of the official shop there. Ellie had a stall there, people making official t-shirts for the event there. They're all made to order. And Milan was there, who I've got his work in another tab. You can buy his artwork from previous years. He was there selling it some of the week. But yeah, that was really good. So this is his artwork. He decorated, there's a mural on what was the official shop last year. Unfortunately, that is now, I think the roof is caving in or something, so they weren't able to go there this year. It's a shame because the mural was so nice, but they had a much bigger space. But yeah, if you want any of the merchandise with these designs on, aside from t-shirts, you can get them from here. So prints, tote bags, tea towels. I've got the tea towel, magnets. He also did a design just for like he did this design of Droitwich and Richie and Eddie from Bottom, but he also did one. I don't think he had this last year. This lovely design of just the street, of like the main Droitwich street, and that was really lovely. I didn't get to meet him last year, I don't think, because he was only there for the beginning of the week. Oh, and I got two of these bookmarks, and I gave one to a friend. So there, it's a golden tassel, and of course, Rick's 5 mantras are on the back. I love this so much; it's so brilliant. Rick's 5 mantras speech. Like I actually didn't watch it until yeah, Milan's link is Milan Illustrator. I have linked that one in the description if anyone wants to have a look at that right now. Obviously keep us open in another tab and keep listening to my ramblings, but you can go and have a look at that now. But yeah, it's really he was really lovely. He's a real sweetheart. Thomas says, I'm going to cartoonist event next weekend, some work in TV. I might ask if they have Rick Mayall or other comedy stories. One of them writes for Have I Got News for You? Oh, cool. Yeah, is that Thought Bubble or is that I think the Thought Bubble's November, isn't it? But that's cool. There was actually an exhibition at the local. They have this tiny local museum. I didn't end up going just because I wasn't. It's kind of. It's not like out of the way, as in far away to walk, but it's not where everything else is. It's just sort of like across the road out of the way. But so we didn't. I didn't end up going there again this year. And the museum, they have a tiny museum, but it is free, and it's about like the history of the salt mines and everything, and local artifacts. But they've got a little shop there that has some festival merchandise, or it did at least last year. And they had an exhibition this year which I missed, that was about the guy who did Corky the cat for the Dandy. So yeah, so it's interesting. Do you plan on doing more interviews? We'd love to hear you talk to Lisa Mayall or Nigel Planer. Yeah, that would be good. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to, but at the same time, the editing wise, they're a lot of work to make them. I mean, on one hand, I could just like not edit a load of B-roll on top. I think I am my own worst enemy, but like I don't want to. But I've already set myself to this high standard. I mean, I did do an interview 3 years ago that was 2 hours long. It was with the former head of digital comedy for the BBC. And it was when I was doing my series on Psychoville, and the ARG, which is it's like a video game made of websites that they'd made for the show. So I think that so like I'd love to, but I think I'd have to be in a position. Well, I mean, have had some smaller videos edited by other people, but I think I'd have to be in a stage where I'd be able to pay people to cut stuff down for me, because and then I could just slap the B-roll on top of it, maybe, just because I know that. I mean, it was partly just like kind of overwhelm. I mean, I did of course end up doing 2 interviews with Peter. um but yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to see. In fairness, the first interview I did with Peter, I accidentally didn't record it all, so he redid the interview that same day, which meant it was a lot shorter and more concise. But yeah, that's. Uh, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out. But At De Jong is probably the person I would like to interview the most out of everyone. But obviously everyone else is great. Thinking of Cat Binface, I'm surprised Rick Mayall never stood as a joke candidate. I know that he did political broadcasts. Yeah, he did one about I think he did a couple. I think one was about not adopting the euro as the UK's currency. It's Herne Bay Cartoon Festival. I've been to the Lake District cartoon event. Viz artists did a talk. I mentioned working with Harry Enfield and Peter Cook on Viz animations. Oh, that's interesting. Peter's really good friends with Harry Enfield. He's like Peter's comedy idol, Harry Enfield. I mean, in terms of someone who like came after him. But he's still, and he's slightly younger than him. Still, Peter sees, really puts him up on a pedestal. He sees Harry as like one of the greats. Definitely, he really wants to work with him. He's in the. I mean, he's been in and out of this process a lot of times, so I don't know how likely it is to happen. But he has he has been talking about doing another project with Harry, but it's just a case of he's got so many finished scripts that he's been shopping around for the past 10 years, and it's just a case of someone financing it and getting them made. Stacey, last year I missed the Talking Bottom book signing, but Matt Brooks very kindly introduced me to Ed By and the rest of the Talking Bottom team. I got their book signed and had a great chat. Oh, how lovely! Oh, so were you just there earlier in the week, Stacey? Thomas, the Viz artist mentioned how upset Rob Brydon not getting chair of. I'm sorry, I haven't the clue. Oh yes, so for people who don't know, that's a radio panel show, and that's the previous chair of it had passed away. Is that one? I think that they're all that one and the other open spots on the panel themselves. They're all like rotating people now. But yeah, I remember when my grandmother had cancer. A friend of my dad's who'd previously had cancer had a load of "I'm sorry, I haven't a clue" tapes that she used to listen to during radiotherapy. So my grandmother, and she gave them to well, they were CDs, not tapes. My dad wouldn't have had a tape recorder in his car by then. But yeah, so we used to listen to those a lot. But yeah, my dad listens to Radio 4 quite a bit. I'll take that banner down. So anyway, let's get back to my PowerPoint. So there's the lovely Ellie. Oh, and I've got her page up somewhere. So this is her website. She does have an Etsy shop, but it's I've just seen it's down for the moment just because she's focusing on fulfilling the order she has at the moment. But on Etsy, you can click let me know when her stuff becomes available again. So do make sure you do that. And look at this artwork. It's so brilliant. So you can see it's all Rick and Aid or Reese and Steve stuff here. So we've got Mr. Jelly from Psychoville and a bunch of League of Gentlemen stickers. A lot of her stuff is comedy fan art. Exceed Mighty Boosh there, Philomena Kunk. And here's the artwork she did for the Rick Mayall Comedy Festival. I think this was like her first. She's been working doing conventions and stuff for a long while. I think about a year ago maybe she started doing this full time. So yeah, she goes to conventions and sells her artwork. She actually didn't have that much at the festival. She'd already sold out of a load of stuff because she'd just done a big con the week before, and because I saw her. You guys, if you went to see Adrian Edmondson at that convention he did, she was there and it had a much bigger setup. So you will find more stuff online. If you were at the festival and were surprised it didn't have more stuff, you will find more online. But yeah, she did this official artwork for so the merch as well. That's a sort of variation of Rick shirt. This is actually a variation of a tattoo that she has on her arm. A bunch of these stickers here. I ended up like buying a load of them and giving them to friends, and then not buying one for myself, which I regretted. And then she did a bunch of other official artwork for events at the festival. I didn't end up going to any of it. I mean, I didn't end up going to most stuff, but there was a big showcase of like youth community theaters. So like a lot of companies made of teenagers were performing there. Here's her music fan art. So Sparks, Beatles, My Chemical Romance, Ghost. So, this is cool. This is like a commission from someone who is like a backing opera singer on My Chemical Romance. A bunch of her movie stuff showing, of course, there's Drop Dead Fred. But yeah, really, really wonderful artist. Go and support her. Love this Alice Cooper art. But yeah, definitely go and support her. She is brilliant. She's on Instagram. Let's see. Lou, I do love Viz. I made some Viz comic dubs and I wouldn't mind interviewing the Viz comic creators. Yeah, I do recommend that, Thomas, if you're a fan of Viz. One of the cartoonists I know with did Victor Lewis Smith and some of his TV shows. Don't know if you're familiar with Inside Victor Lewis Smith and TV Offal, famous for the Gay Dalek sketch. No, I don't. I'm not familiar with that. Oh, was it not? Oh, her page isn't showing up. I couldn't see the chat at the same time, so I need to remove that. There we go. Ah, that's so annoying. Here's her artwork for the festival. Sorry, I thought it with some stuff it automatically adds it to the stream, and other stuff it just kind of puts it in the lobby. So yeah, there it is. That's the official artwork she did. That's based on a tattoo. Those were the stickers I was talking about. Here's other fan art that I spent like 10 minutes talking about. Oh god. So there's our other fan art, music, the My Chemical Romance stuff, Drop Dead Fred. Lovely. And a lovely Ice Cooper one. Okay, sorry about that. What is my favourite bottom episode? It is really difficult. Holy is a good one. I like a lot of the I like some of the Series 3 ones, like Carnival. Um, yeah, I don't really know. I think maybe my favorite Bottom stuff is one of either the first or second live show. Of course, the live shows, like when they by the time they're filmed, they've been perfected over months of touring. So of course, it's stuff that's. I mean, same with League of Gentlemen. I think some of the League of Gentlemen's best stuff is their live shows. Um, Four Alarms and Hog, they're a really good sketch comedy group. I highly recommend them. Um, I bought so much of Ellie's art this year. Her work is fantastic. So many cool badges to wear now. There was on the Saturday. I haven't even talked about the the shows yet, and I'm an hour in. But there was like a market for the sort of official opening of the show, and there was one other artist who was there just for that. And I got some stickers and stuff from her. I didn't actually get anything Rick related because I think they only had like one or two young ones prints. But I got some stickers, and they're really brilliant. In my day job, I work in politics, and there's some people really like Bastard. I know one I know got called the Modern Bastard by a politics sketch writer in the Guardian. I'm guessing the vibes he gives. Yeah, I love the New Statesman so much. Amy, if you're watching this, please do uh please do watch the New Statesman. I'll DM her, see if she's doing all right. Okay, so back to this. So first thing I saw, that shop I was showing you guys earlier, the one that's in an abandoned M&Co, I think. They were doing they had like the one that had the photography stuff on sale. Peter went and did like a little ribbon cutting on the Friday, which is the first day. They had us kind of like the sort of the big first day of Saturday. They did have some stuff on the Friday. I'm getting some art for my cork board in my room. Ah, well, I definitely recommend Ellie's prints. Then they'd be, because they're like A5, so they'd be a good size for that, depending on the size. But yes, if you guys have seen Taskmaster, you might know Phil Ellis. He was really brilliant. I had a nice chat to him as well, because I was hanging out with Peter, and Phil Ellis lived with Red for a month a few years ago doing the Edinburgh Fringe. And he was absolutely lovely. Really took a lot of time with his fans afterwards. Like they had to set up the merch stuff outside because they were closing the theatre. And there was a big queue, and he was saying hi to everyone and doing pictures with everyone who was queuing up. And he was just so lovely. You could tell that like he'd been a fan, and the fan experience meant a lot to him. So he was just the loveliest guy. His show was really funny. Some stuff was set up, but he was also really good at doing crowd work and just being really spontaneous. That was really enjoyable. The show ended with him singing Country Roads while showing photos of Preston, and photos of like headlines about their murder rates. That was funny. It's the birthplace of Nick Park as well. So pictures of Nick Park. But yeah, it was that was a really lovely gig. I definitely recommend this show if you see it. So, I mean, especially if you enjoyed him on Taskmaster. If you liked him on Taskmaster, you will like this show. I don't know if this is. I'm guessing this is touring at the moment. Still. Okay, next one. Ah, yeah. So this was the first day. You can see the market there. There's a great arts place that I got some stickers from. I'll post that in the comments if I can remember what it was. Shout out to the guy at the Phil show going, "What's his name?" I can't remember what was that. I can't remember. I should have done this a fucking month ago. This stream, because I like I struggle to remember stuff like at the end of the week. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I haven't been able to find the video of ITV News. But this was towards the end of the week, and the BBC came. The BBC did stuff before the thing as well, but I think this was just the local BBC. So that's my friend Katie who did that thing of the lovely artwork of the young one's house being interviewed in the Norbury in the art gallery. I just add that to show some more of the news coverage. I was considering showing some of the news coverage, but I think I would have had to just cut some stuff together, and I didn't really have the time. This was this was the Saturday, wasn't it? So this was lovely picture of Eleni's. She interviewed Bob Baldwin, who was a very close friend of Rick's. Most famous thing he did with Rick was he was the director of Grim Tales, but he was a director that worked a lot with Rick in subsequent years. Also, he worked with the Muppets. Anyone here interested in the Muppets? He'd worked with them, not as a director, I don't think. I can't remember what it was, but some earlier job he'd done was involving the Muppets. And the actual show that was of course made over here, and he was really nice. And he's also someone who kept trying to get Rick work when people didn't want to work with Rick anymore. When a lot of places weren't commissioning stuff that Rick was attached to. So he was a really loyal friend to Rick. But most of the stuff that he'd done with Rick, they did show some stuff that had never been seen before. This one, there was actually a lot of press for this beforehand about it being seeing something that's never seen before. Actually, aside from obviously, like I said, my friends, out of all the shows I saw, this was the best one, hands down. Highlight of the event. I'm not going to share it because I know that they don't want it posted because the thing was filmed. They're not going to post the whole thing. But Rick's daughter Rosie was in the audience, and there's a really lovely moment at the end. But like I said, I don't want to. I know that they've decided not to release that, so I'm not going to talk about that. But it was a really good, a fantastic show. So loads of stuff. They did show a load of unseen stuff. Like there's an unseen pilot that was like the Grim Tales, but for adults. So they're like funny, spooky stories. And then there's another one that was I can't remember what it's called. It's like a man called Elizabeth, and they'd recorded. It was going to be like a silent comedy thing, I guess, kind of like Mr. Bean. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't say like Mr. Bean, but there's the closest thing I can really compare it to. And they'd kind of Rick had recorded an audio of what all the scenes would have been, and that was really interesting. But the stuff that he did that make the isn't unseen stuff, that is stuff that's been out there for a while, is stuff that me and my hardcore Rick fans had had never heard of. And it was so brilliant. I think I've got a picture of it. That's them on stage. Lenny was on the news. And she had her name described by news companies in every kind of way. Like she had Uleni, Delaney, but her name's Eleni Hadji Daniel. And like, yeah, it's a difficult name to read, but like once you know how it's pronounced, it's quite easy. It's Eleni Hadji Daniel. But yeah, that's Bob Baldwin and Rick doing horse opera, which a bunch of us got together. I think this was on a day that most of us had decided to have off. Actually, no, this was the day after that. I think we had a Supergrass screening at a house a bunch of us were sharing. So we but the day after that we invited some other people over. We had a big screening of horse opera, which I think was the project that he'd done with him that we hadn't heard of that interested us the most. And it's because it's so bizarre. It's about this guy who's a cowboy fanatic who has a cowboy society in Nottingham, and he gets hit on the head, and has this whole fantasy. The rest of the film is a dream sequence. It's weird before the dream sequence, but it just gets weirder, and it's this kind of sort of very strange commentary on American imperialism, and the Old West being a symbol of that. Oh, it's you, Nicole. Hello. I didn't realize it was you. Oh, this is my friend Nicole, guys. This is the new friend that we added to our cult of Rick sister wives, or Rickster wives, if you will. Horse Opera is the best fucking movie ever, I think. Yes. I'm definitely reviewing it because it's one of those things where you're like, oh my god, this is so buried, not a lot of people are talking about it. I mean, it shows you how weird it is. He had a friend who was someone, I can't remember her name, but who's the person who was writing Grim Tales scripts that wasn't Anthony Horowitz. But she went and was writing this, I think, for the stage, and he wanted to produce it on film, but he knew that no one would commission it. So he went to the music department and went, I'm going to make an opera. Are you going to produce it? And he knew that they were the only ones who'd be crazy enough to make this. So yeah, that's brilliant. Lovely behind the scenes pictures. These are the ones I got from a news article promoting the show. It's so cool. I got to see how the chair worked. It's got there's another picture of like a load of people behind the chair pulling this metal thing up and down, and it's so fascinating to find out, but it really hasn't ruined the magic for me. But just because, like, I had no idea how they did the chair. It was Rick sister wives is the key word, Lou. I don't think. I don't think. I mean, I don't know if you're interested in Rick that way, but if you are, power to you. But anyway, yeah, this is just such a wonderful effect. The chair. I love the chair is kind of a character in and of itself in the show. It's just the best puppet, and then he tried to track it down and couldn't find it anywhere, so we think it's probably no longer in existence. But someone out there get what's his name used to be on Mythbusters? Adam Savage, is it? Someone tell Adam Savage to remake this prop. He's the person who would do this. Okay, next, Red Richardson. I missed Red Richardson last year. Despite obviously the connection to Rick and Peter, I haven't seen a lot of Red Richardson stuff online. I know he's become very popular online. For those of you who don't know, he's a massively viral stand-up comedian. You might have seen his adverts for 23 Red or Squatch Soap. And yeah, he's very funny, very deadpan. And for those of you who don't know, he's Peter Richardson's son, and he married Rick's daughter. And they sort of grew up together, which is rather sweet. But so yeah, really good show. It was a work in progress. He actually did 2 shows because he was sold out almost instantly. So they had another show in the hotel due to popular demand. There's only one hotel in Droitwich. I think they've got about 30 rooms. They were the venue this year. Just because they'd had the Working Men's Club had closed down in the town, so they lost a major venue from last year. But Red was so I missed Red last year because I went to see Cherry and Peach, who were a sort of a husband and wife couple who did. They were there this year. They did a whole show of songs they'd written about Rick. That was a lot of fun. They were sort of punk. But anyway, going back to Red, really brilliant show. It's a work in progress. Although it's about half new material, half old material. But yeah, really good show. Like, I would have enjoyed it without the Rick connection. And he didn't even mention the Rick connection. He's done a very good job of avoiding the whole Nepo baby label. Like, he's kind of done it completely he's built his own career completely removed from his dad. And Peter doesn't know a lot of people in stand up. I mean, especially, I think he's friends with some comedians, but like most of the people he knows are in the acting world and not in the stand up world, especially in like the kind of the producer stand up world. So he's very much carved out his own career. So I mean, so he's not someone who mentioned it. He wasn't. I did see him on stage last year with Peter. Did go on stage with Peter last year during some of the Q&A. I think there was 2 Q&As because it's a much longer show. But anyway, yeah. This was the next day. I can't remember what day we're on. This was a free shop in the Star and Garter. There are 4 pubs in Droitwich, at least 4 pubs. There may well be more that I'm not aware of. But yeah, this was a show called Corner Shop Showdown. I really, really enjoyed the show. This is the show that made me think, oh, I should probably tell my followers about this because I really enjoyed this show. This is their first performance. The premise is that it's a 1970s game show. So you win fags. The catchphrase is, "Who are the fags for? It's for me, ma'am." Of course it is. And it was it was like, so it had, people from the audience with the contestants. Um, had a competition called Lick My Sweet Privates, where they had a bunch of toy soldiers, and you have to lick them and guess which one was covered in lead paint. It's a really funny show. However, I would definitely recommend this. They also gave out sold bags for £1 that had like Parma violets and a sticker and badges. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, though, I did think they might have used AI in their opening video. And if I go to, but I wasn't totally sure that like this animated video, and it's something that where it's just like if they like they could have done without this, like for those who don't know, I used to be I was quite an early adopter of making AI images, like way before it became part of the national conversation, like early 2022, mid 2022, I was using AI. I was on Night Cafe a lot. So, um, but I have done a complete 180 on AI, just because I am terminally online and I am very exposed to the arguments, and I know that a lot of middle-aged people haven't been exposed to like how bad AI is. Like there's kind of no ethical reason for doing AI images or text, anything that AI is generating, generative AI, because of the environmental impact, because of the impact of the people who live near the data centers, in terms of water and electricity being used. But yeah, anyway, that's the whole thing. So I did really like their show. Here's their website. I had some reviews of people there. Jake Yap is the guy who's the host there. He's worked with Charlie Brooker and stuff. So I did really enjoy the show. They do have I love that they've got online games on the shoppers on the website as well. I was playing this earlier. I beat the high score there, although because they haven't added my high score, I'm guessing it's they don't keep track of that. But it's like this sort of Pong game, but with a cigarette. I was kind of disappointed they weren't giving away cigarettes in the little gift bags they were selling, because I would have loved there were all those, those joke cigarettes, and I did a school musical as a kid where we had a load of these, and uh we just had so much fun with them, and we ended up inhaling a load of the chalk powder. So I would have loved it if they'd included one of those. Mr. Yap, if you're listening, I definitely recommend adding a cigarette to the gift bag. But anyway, I'll leave that there. Um, And they've also got like a choose your own adventure game theme to the thing. I like that. This is really fun stuff. So it's really disappointing when you go to their shop. And I mean, you can kind of see the close up there. I'm pretty certain there's AI here. I'd be really disappointed if this design was AI because it was in one of the temporary. They're giving out temporary tattoos in the gift bag. The gift bag was such a good idea, guys. Oh, and they gave out paper, like those kind of like cheap paper fans. So that was great. I don't think I can't see anything that makes me think that this design is AI. But I can't be certain. But yeah, these action figure ones, annoyingly, I can't make any of these pictures bigger. Which is a disadvantage when you're trying to buy an item of clothing. You want to see how it looks. But this was a thing of like a puppet dog they have, and this is this. It's a certain art style. I mean, obviously, this is just kind of a gimmick people have been doing on AI for a while, the action figures. But they definitely look AI to me. And that's not on. Like, it would have looked better if they just not made these, you know? That's the thing is that AI is most of the time there's always a free in my experience as a YouTuber, and of course there's lots of people using generative AI in the YouTube space. There is always either a free alternative that takes a bit longer to do, but not by much, because of course with AI you're writing and rewriting prompts. Um I these are I can't get big enough, so I can't totally see, but it is that art style, so I can't tell for certain, but it definitely looks like it. But and of course everything's going to be yellowed purposefully. But yeah, it's disappointing, but I'd 100% recommend the show. I really, really enjoyed the show. So you can see they're about to do the Camden Fringe here in August. They've just done a couple of fringes and Lambeth Fringe in October. Surprised I can't see the Edinburgh Fringe here. I would have thought that would be like, you know, the big one. Especially as he's, you know, he's already got something of a career. But yeah, I don't know, but I think they're £10 now the tickets, and they're at bigger venues. But of course, it was like their first gig. I really, really enjoyed this show. It was so much fun. I am considering going and seeing them again at the Camden Fringe, despite the AI stuff. And usually any company or artist, like even if it's like a small independent one, AI is just like a total turn off for me, and I will no longer give them my business. But this is like the one exception for me. That's how good the show was. Hello there, Sapphire One. It's not been showing the bloody screen again. Oh, this is so annoying. Here's let's see, add to stage. I have to remove that. There we go. It's just when you have two things up at once. So this is their website. So yeah, it was such a brilliant show. I do recommend seeing them. But yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? I know. Here's the the game that you can play where it's like Pong but with a cigarette. Anyway, so favorite video that I've made, it's really difficult because I do keep focusing ahead on the next one. I guess it's kind of a cliche thing to say, but you know, I know that I'll like there'll be one that is one of my top 3 that I will completely forget about in the moment. I mean, the inside number 9 one is definitely up there. Obviously, it's the most popular one, but I'd put so much work into that video and trying to make it visually interesting. I mean, it's a video that's longer than the topic that I'm talking about. It's like 10 minutes longer than the episode. So I did some research into academic literature, which I wanted to do more of when I started this. So it was a big, yeah, it was a big deal for me, that one. There's definitely ones where I've done stuff better. Also because I'd taken so much time. I spent a month, or a couple of months, I think, on that video, just on that video. And let me think. Like the Robin of Sherwood one. It's the Arne Bastard video essay I really enjoyed. Any of the video essays, like I really enjoy the reviews, but in terms of ones that I'm like proud of, the video essays are definitely up there just because they take more work. I'm often more creative when it comes to the editing. But I have a sense of pride overall myself. I'm nothing. It's weird. I don't like being in the same room as if I'm like seeing one of my parents and they're watching one of my videos. That's uncomfortable. But I don't feel so. I think the old ones have loads of issues in them, but I don't cringe so much that I can't watch them. I have a sense of pride with everything that I've done, just because I know how hard I've worked on it and how hard I've found just putting myself out there in general. But thank you. Yeah, I know it's the thing is that it's like if I just add the slideshow, it does it immediately. But if I do that now I'm trying to do that now with the screen share and it's not working. So I then have to remove that and then add it, which is so annoying. Have you any idea what dates the festival will be next year? No, they haven't even announced if there will be one next year, I don't think. I mean, we all hope there'll be another one. We think there'll be another one, but it is entirely managed by volunteers. Entirely managed by volunteers. So, like, of course, it's a non-profit, but like, there's no people who work for the non-profit. Like, people are doing this entire thing in their spare time, and they really run off their feet. And I know some people who work in events, and people do it for the love of it. Unless they're already established and been doing it for a really long time, they are doing it for the love of it rather than the money. Because either they're not making money, or the money they make isn't enough to justify the amount of work unless they love it. So for these guys to be doing it for free, they're really run off their feet, but they're really passionate about it. But it's just because it's a lot of work. I feel like um they're just kind of a couple of people are going to kind of reassess if they want to do it next year. I think that's kind of the vibe that I've got. I think the answer will ultimately be yes. I think if someone higher up says, "Oh, I don't feel like I can do it next year," a bunch of other people will step up. So I don't think it's likely that it will not happen next year. But I'm pretty I don't think it's confirmed that it will happen next year at all, but I'm pretty certain that it will. So yeah, but I think it's probably similar to last year, because I think last year was last week of May, first week of June. So I'm guessing the same next year. I just checked the dates of the Corner Shop Showdown at the Camden Fringe. It's between the 10th and the 14th of August. Yes, sorry, that was on screen when I was trying to share it. But yes, it's yeah, and then it's what was the other thing? Yeah, there was another place, Lambeth. Oi, so they're doing Lambeth. If there is a next year, I'll definitely want to help out with the volunteering. Yes, I think that'll be a wonderful thing to do. I wasn't involved with like the festival itself, but anyway, so this was later that day, I think. Helen Lederer begins with, there are two podcasts about bottom: My Bottom and Talking Bottom. Talking Bottom is the bigger one, I think. They've got a book, and I think they've been around for longer. If anyone follows the Hammersmith Hardmen on like Instagram or something, he's one half of the podcast. And I can't remember the full name of the other person, but it's like Katie something. But yes, they interviewed Helen Lederer, who, of course, many of you know is the major guest star in Bottom. She had the dress that she wore as Lady Natasha Letitia, Sarah Jane Wellesley of Tronsky Ponsomsky, Smythe, Obramov, Dob, 3rd Viscountess of Moldavia. My mouth slipped up slightly there, but I was able to say the whole thing, and I was able to say the whole thing on stage. I've linked it in my community tab, the interview. You can hear me about 57 minutes in. That was the last question. I managed to get mine in, although ironically mine was in Happy Families, but of course I had to show off. But the dress looks even better in person. But yes, and also for those of you who don't know, she did yes, thank you for this. Is the Hammersmith Hardman's handle. And Helen Lederer is also on social media and stuff, and she's also released her autobiography, which was on sale. She was doing her book tour stuff last year. This year she was doing this. I didn't see her book tour stuff because I was there later in the week. And she was really, really lovely, and spilling the tea, as the kids say. And just there, the great big bottle of white wine. And for those of you who don't know, she did one night to have intimate relations with Rick Mayall, and was talking about that on stage. And said that if you wanted more details, we needed to buy her wine at the bar. I think she's got a really good business setup. Sex anecdotes in exchange for wine. I love that. But yeah, she was really lovely. I did have a friend who took her up on that offer, and that was really nice. And the thing that stuck out to me was the fact that she said, and the best part about it is that it wasn't weird afterwards. Like, they were still friends and everything. And she's been in every show that Rick's done. So they were good friends since after that. But it's nice that they were able to be good friends, and it just like wasn't awkward after he'd gotten married and all that. But yes, I think her name was Katie. I can't remember. I think it was her that rang Eleni like 20 minutes before they went on, saying, "Quick, we need a mannequin." So, like I said, the main festival shop this year was in an abandoned clothes store. So there were loads of mannequins there. I think this is where this one was from, although I do think they have some in the theatre, hidden below, in like this cupboard near the ground. It looks like there's bodies stashed under there. It's really funny. But yeah, on the left is a picture of them putting the dress on. On the right is them putting the dress on whilst Helen Lederer films them for Instagram. The life of an influencer. So I didn't get to see any of the Talking Bottoms talks, but I did see the quiz. A bunch of my friends dressed up for the quiz, so here's some pictures of them. Yes, Katie Lingo York was the co-presenter. She's also a professional stand-up and a professional presenter. Like, she does, events and stuff as a presenter, corporate things and stuff. So if you need a corporate presenter, do look her up. One thing I like to say is, Quickie doesn't ruin a friendship, but lending money does. I mean, it depends, but yeah, I definitely say lending money is probably the riskier of the two. But I don't know if it had been announced that they were doing a costume competition. It must have been, because they had prizes. So they did a costume competition. These are a bunch of my friends who dressed up for the quiz. So that as the Bricturationist there is Colin Grigson. It's Katie there as Rick. Ellie in kind of Rick core in the yellow dungarees. And shame I don't have a best picture of it, but Eleni absolutely fucking served as Carlos from Fistful of Traveller's Checks. Oh my god, she nearly won. In the end, it was Paul here, the Bricturationist husband, who won as Richie Rich from Filthy Rich and Cat Flaps, wearing the Nolan's dress and lipstick, which is such a brilliant scene. And he was just pulling a load of faces, because he can do Rick's faces really well. Paul is such a funny guy. But yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. They've got Victoria's friend Jen there as Neil. Here's the Norbury Theatre. We did do a tour of the Norbury. It's really, really great theatre. And it's just like a really lovely place because it's the spirit of the community is there, and also so much of the spirit of Rick, and because it's the start of something that was so important to Rick and such an important part of Rick's core, um, which you can definitely see in terms of the amount of stuff that he did. Like he I didn't realize until I was, staying with my friends watching a bunch of Rick stuff on YouTube. Like he also did a lot of like student films when he was famous. He I think he played Death in at least two of them. But he absolutely, uh, it was so important to him, especially you can see later in his career. I don't think, I mean, I don't know, that their family's financial situation intimately, but from what I have heard, like it wasn't a money thing. The fact that he was just doing any and all work that he could get, he really absolutely loved the craft. He loved acting. He loved the approval, especially the approval of a live audience. Um, it was really important to him. So it was really special being there where it all started. Blimey, I think I'm welling up. Anyway, Eleni said, "Thank you, but about the Eleni's lovely cosplay." But yeah, I'm really chuffed that Paul won. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both in terms of the costume and goofing around. It was so brilliant, that cosplay. So this is one of Eleni's pictures. I think this must have been during one of her sound checks, actually. But uh so we got to go up into this booth upstairs. I'm really bad when it comes to taking pictures just like out and about in life. I mean, partially because I have a really crap phone, with a really crap camera. Like everything else is fine. Like it's like a cheaper phone, but the only thing, but it's an Android, and the only thing you're really cutting corners on, I think it's a relatively low memory, but I think that the only thing you're majorly cutting corners on when you're buying this phone is the camera. So these are all pretty much all the pictures that I've got here are Lenny's, that she's let me use. But we also got to see they have like 2 floors of basements. One of them's been flooded. But they have 2 floors of basements, and they make so much of their props and sets in house. And most importantly, they have the room to keep old ones. A lot of these amateur theatres are not big places. They are small. I mean, when I was at uni, I performed in one, because the Uni Theatre Society was performing there, and not a big space, not a place that has a lot of room to build in-house props and costumes and stuff. But they have like a whole room that's just slats, and they have a whole workshop that's just for building stuff. It's such a good amateur dramatics company, and they also have an extra stage that they use upstairs for rehearsals, like quite a small room. But they made that a venue this year as well. They lost some venues this year. There are some businesses who ones that were like bars and stuff that were just like, well, we could just keep doing, we don't need to have to go through all the fuss of being an event space, and then we're still going to get more business anyway, because the whole town got more business. But that's a shame. But I mean, the biggest blow, of course, was just the working men's club losing that. Especially, it's been such a major venue last year. It's where the after party was. Stacey says, "I hope they do another pub quiz next year. I would love to join all you wonderful people." Yes, we definitely have you on our team. We'd love to have you. Eleni says, "This is Ben, one of the technicians at the Norbury. Such a brilliant guy, and so are all of the volunteers. Yeah, they were so lovely. Actually, one of them's. I was thinking of showing it. One of them's in the video footage. Of the one of the I think it's one of the BBC video things on it. I think it might have been on the first Rickfest. This is so annoying. Not all of them are on YouTube. I'm pretty sure the ITV one isn't on YouTube. But yeah, let me see. I did find an old documentary about Droitwich that had some stuff about the theatre. So I think this might have been straight to VHS. I found a couple of documentaries about Droitwich, which I think were straight to VHS. So yeah. Quite late. So they talked about the Norbury, 1994.
Be a likeness.
This is the old Cock-In, which is next to the Norbury.
A scowling face stares up at the Norbury house,
Cock-In.
which has been converted into a small theatre. Here, you can help put on a drama, or take lessons in tap dancing, or in ballet. The Vanya Carlton School of Dance contributes regularly to the musical shows at the Norbury Theatre, and although it's still summertime, auditions are already being held for next season's panto. While the youngsters at the Norbury Theatre concentrate on stagecraft, the Ginny-Ring Centre, just outside the town, caters for an even wider selection of traditional skills.
I'll skip ahead. I go back to the Norbury, weirdly.
To the end of October. Plays next door. This pumpkin weighs 127 kilos. Not unexpectedly, it won first prize for its 11-year-old owner.
Singing this song.
Held on this occasion,
I've only skimmed this bit.
with Christmas on the house of the choir take part purely for the sheer enjoyment of singing. Just as seasonal, but rather more frivolous, the Norbury Theatre Pantomime opens its doors to the public for its first night. They've come a long way from the auditions back in August, and with 4 months of rehearsal behind them, they're relaxed and ready to open.
Cram full of groceries. He said, well, I said, 'tis a larder. Mate of mine went to the garage and he says, have you got a cap for a Skoda? He says, yeah, that's a fair swap. I went down to the bank and I waited.
The tradition of pantomime can be traced as far back as ancient Rome, and it was the
Okay, that's towards the end of the documentary now. But yeah, really interesting to see it that far back. I mean, obviously it predates that, but because of course Rick was there in, I think it would have been the 70s, maybe the 60s even, when he first did that. There's obviously, I'm sure many of you know, there's a Rick Mayall documentary here on Sky in the UK, and it had photos of him in Waiting for Godot when he was a kid, which Waiting for Godot was such an important text for Rick. So, and like these photos are like the holy grail for us as Rick fans. It was amazing. Let's see, do I have any more pictures of the Norbury? Yes, so here's a picture from what the viewers like on stage. So he went on stage at the end. And here's a seance of our Rick effigies. But yeah, it was really brilliant. It was just so nice. Like it's such a I'd definitely recommend this tour if it's, I think it was around last year and I didn't go. But if you're there, I think it's only during weekdays as well. But weekday mornings. But if you are there when they are doing this next year, if they do it next year, definitely go. You will not be disappointed. Actually, the doors slammed at one point. The doors slammed at one point, and we were like, "Oh my god, it's the Ghost of Rick!" It was like it wasn't just one door slamming because of the wind; it was multiple doors slamming at once because of the wind, and we were like, "What the fuck?" That felt, I'm not saying it was a possession, but it did feel. We probably should have conducted a séance. Okay, I will show you, as we're just talking about like the town. I'll just talk about the town in general quickly here. Oh, where's the videos?
My name is JBM Travels.
Okay. I'll just talk about this comment first. I was looking at sets and props that they may have used for Rick's Godot show at the backstage show of the Norbury. Did you see anything that might have been used for it? I didn't. I mean, the things that stood out were like there was a giant crocodile and there was an alarm clock. And of course, I know that there's not a lot on stage during Waiting for Godot. I haven't seen the documentary since it came out, but I don't remember there being a lot on stage. But I think it's generally not done with a lot on stage. I mean, even the big production that Rick and A did, there's not a lot on stage. So, but yeah, in terms of like big set pieces, obviously they're not likely to have anything, but there may well have been, like, I don't know, hats or something that were used then. But yeah, there was just so much stuff and huge. I didn't even talk about the rooms just of costumes. I had huge rooms of costumes. They just had a load more come in, like old school ones or something. But yeah, it was so brilliant. Anyway, this is from JBM Travels. For those who weren't here earlier when I talk about it, he was there the day before Rickfest. It started on the 28th on the Friday. He was there on the 27th on the Thursday. He had no idea that there was a festival on, and he doesn't mention it once in the video. I mean, the Rick stuff started to go out. There's a huge hotel that burnt down last year. It had been abandoned, but it burnt down last year, which is a shame because like I said, the only hotel there is small, and the refurbishment that this other hotel has had recently looks really tacky. Like they've added a load of red lights outside it, and it looks like a brothel. Like, and the bar looks like a school disco. But anyway, so there's the library. They did screenings of like Grim Tales this year and Rick Mayall doing Jack and Nori last year. There's Smith's. I don't care what it's called now. This here is the empty clothes shop that was converted into the Rick tribute store, where the Treasure Rogers photographs were. Peter, of course, opened this place the next day. It wasn't open then, but you can see these photos. And I was actually with Peter when we were walking up here for the first time, and it was just so lovely for him to turn and see these pictures, because it's a total surprise to him, total surprise to us, because we had no idea these photographs were even going to be sold, let alone that there was this huge thing of them. And there's, of course, the first one we were coming from this way. First thing you see is one of Nigel and Peter right there. So this is like the town's main new shopping street. There's a Works, there's a Cafe One, there's a Peacocks, which is the only. I needed to get a swimming costume, and that was the only place I could really find one. There was like a charity shop that had some, but of course you don't want to. They all had tags on, which is of course reassuring. There's a muffin break there. Went there a couple of times. They were nice. Iceland. So yeah, it's a small town. It's definitely a place where it's like it's not on the up and up. You definitely kind of feel like there's plenty of places that have closed down. It's a place that's in need of some investment, but it's still like a lovely place. I've got a friend who's considering moving there just because it is nicer than where she is at the moment, and there's a real sense of community there, which is what she's been craving. But yeah, it's very lovely place. There's Iceland, there's a Morrison's, there's a Waitrose in the centre as well. Yeah. So the large photos are also from Treasure Rogers Photography. So there's a public loos there should you need them. That you can sort of see. I thought we take it back slightly. Oh, it's gone too far. This is so annoying. It's so small I can barely move it. But those houses there, that's the same building as the Norbury Theatre. So like there's a sort of back entrance to the Norbury Theatre that's sort of down. You can't see where my mouse is, but sort of down in the left right hand corner of that building. So yeah. Let's see, can we so it'll skip ahead, I think, in a second. Yeah, so this is the street. There's a Ravens down on the right there. Arch Rivals, which is a venue last year, but not this year. That's up there. That's like I think that's all those places that's kind of a cafe during the day and a bar during the evening. One of the venues is a barber's, actually. There are lots of really, really tiny venues. So yeah, a bunch of charity shops, lovely little sweet shop. So it's not totally dead. And it is close. It's close to Worcester and Birmingham. So like it is a place that it's not too quiet. It's not that busy, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's too quiet, because there are these nice little businesses that are around. Couple of restaurants, like not a lot, especially in terms of restaurants. But there's like 4 pubs a stone's throw away from each other. So there's the Star and Garter. I can't remember the name of the pub down the end. I didn't go there at all this year, but I went there last year. There's a wool shop there, and then further down that way is the Old Cock and the Hop Inn. I haven't been to the Hop Inn. I think they nearly went last year, but they were packed. And also it's a place that isn't a venue. The Old Cock is just kind of it's home for me and my friends. Like it's where we'd meet up before every show. I mean, even if the show wasn't near the Old Cock, we would still be meeting up there during the day, you know. All this was a market on that first day. There's the barbers had a big thing of Rick. I think they had some of their own merchandise that they were selling as well, some of their own Rickfest merchandise. They were I didn't end up seeing any gigs there. They were definitely a venue that ended up really embracing the festival. There weren't as many window displays, I don't think, this year. Like I think the stationery supplies one did a bigger one last year. Oh, there's the one with the murals that you can see. Actually, there's a mural on the just of the like the salt spas, the building around the corner. Lovely Tudor building there. That's all closed up. It's a great craft cafe. That's also sometimes a venue. I actually went to something. I went to something there last year. I went to a reading of this guy who'd written a bunch of sort of rewritten a bunch of British folk tales and in a sort of comedic style. I saw him perform there last year. Don't know if it's this alcove here, but it's one of these places where you go into an alcove and it's through there. I don't think it is that one, but there's like an alcove through here that you go through. Lovely Nepalese place that we all went to on the left somewhere here last year. There's an Indian a few doors down. It's not that one. There is a closed chippy there, but there's a chippy down the end. That's the stationery shop I mentioned. Popped in there last year for something. I think the craft cafe's there. Might be wrong, but I think it's this one here. And then there's a lovely the shop is like a kids friendly cafe up here. I think I didn't end up going in, but there's a cafe up here that looks really nice. I just didn't end up going into. And there's restaurants down the end, and then down around the corner. And I'll skip ahead a bit. So there's the Chippy, and then there's like an Italian restaurant that has a pizza place that they owns next to it. So yeah, Talbot, that's the name of the pub. I couldn't remember. The Talbot, Star and Garter, Hop In, and the Old Cock. The Old Cock, of course, was being Rick's pub. I don't think there's much more here. We've seen this road earlier. It's not a huge town. I mean, especially like the center of it. It's one of those places where it's mostly like suburbs. It's mostly housing with like a couple of high streets in the middle. But yeah, it's a nice place. It's like it's the kind of place where like if you want to move somewhere that has a community and isn't totally quiet. There's still that it's not like a village where there's one shop. And it's also easily to access. I've was talking to people who are worried about going to Rickfest, like, oh well, I don't drive. Well, like I said, there is a hotel there, but of course it books up, and they a lot of the venues, the people booked by the festival, like the headliners, they all stay at the St Andrews Hotel. But if you want to stay in Worcester or Birmingham, you can. For a couple of days, I had to stay in Kidderminster at the Travelodge there. Would not recommend. Kidderminster, I had no idea Kidderminster was such a shithole. It's got Kiddie in the name. I thought it would be cute. No, it was. Apologies to everyone who lives in Kidderminster, but I would not be staying there again, and I wouldn't recommend it. Lovely Tudor building there. Round there was where the museum was that I was talking about earlier. Lovely little free museum. I think that's pretty much the end of this video there. So I will go back to the PowerPoint. This I saw, I think I'm pretty certain this was the same day as the tour. This is called Webber. It is a two-person musical about Andrew Lloyd Webber, about actually I remember Grant Sharkey, this guy who played Andrew Lloyd Webber, who wrote the show. He opens the show saying, I don't look a lot like Andrew Lloyd Webber, but then again, Jesus wasn't white. So and regardless of whether or not you're a fan of Andrew Lloyd Webber or not, like even people who like his music, like I like some of his music, and he had a friend in the audience who's a big Lloyd Webber fan. Even if you like his stuff, there's a lot to hate about him as a person. So I mean, it was jabbing at him creatively and jabbing at him as a person. And it's like I think a lot of people are able to laugh at the stuff at the expense of the stuff that they enjoy. Like Jesus Christ Superstar, and like I grew up on the Starlight Express soundtrack, and they took the piss out of Starlight Express a lot. But yeah, I've got the website up for this one as well somewhere. I will make sure that I do this without and make sure like I actually share the screen this time. Here we are. Now I go back to here and there we go. We've done it. Actually I'll go to his channel. I saw a better trailer for it there. I must watch the FAQs. I'm curious about that because I did really enjoy the show. So let's look at the trailer. I didn't. I thought I shared it. What? Oh, it just says, "I'll remove the other thing." It doesn't usually get me to remove stuff. So annoying. Here we are. So yeah, I really recommend it. They all had, it was just the two of them singing along to this backing track. And it's about Andrew Lloyd Webber having this ambition to be filthy rich and fucking useless. And he's visited one night by the spirit of greed, who just so happens to take the form of Margaret Thatcher. But yeah, such a brilliant. I only saw 2 fringe shows, like proper fringe shows, while I was there, but they were both brilliant. So they've got a shop as well, should you want to support them. And none of it is AI, which is always a good thing. So you can buy a digital copy of the script for a fiver. You can buy a jigsaw of Thatcher, and they've also got a Bandcamp where you can listen to the whole show. And they've got like a fan club membership, which I would consider if I could afford it, because it was such a brilliant show. I definitely recommend that one. Let's see, where are they doing next? Let's see, Brixton. I'm guessing Tyne Brixton is Brixton. Reading, Birmingham, the Edinburgh Fringe. Obviously, Edinburgh Fringe is quite a few. They're just doing 5 nights at the Edinburgh Fringe. So yeah, if you're at any of these events, definitely go. It's only £6 as well. At least for the fringe gigs. There's a lot of competition at the Edinburgh Fringe. But yeah, I recommend going to this show if it's anywhere near you. I'm even tempted to go and see it again. What day is that? August the 1st, Saturday. That is tempting, that. But yeah, anyone's watching it there in London, I'll tell my friends who are in London, actually, who are at the festival but didn't see it. It's on there. I don't think it was a free one, but it was a good one. Lewis says, I think there are a few hotels on the outskirts of Droitwich. When I was originally planning on going, I was looking at the Holiday Inn Express, as I am an IHG member. I think there was a travel lodge that was between Droitwich and Birmingham. Well, actually, it was actually close to that. It was between Droitwich and somewhere else that was between Droitwich and Birmingham, and but it wasn't very easy to access by public transport, like late at night. So that's why I went for Kidderminster, because they had trains and not just buses, and of course buses at like 7 in anywhere that isn't like London, So but yeah, I mean, if you have a car, it's obviously a lot easier to do in these little places around the outside. But yeah, Worcester I definitely recommend if you need to. I think that would be a good place to go if you need to go from somewhere else. Okay, back to this. Another one question I have is: are people allowed to put on shows that use some of Rick's material? For example, a bottom fan written play. I mean, I was definitely, obviously, of course, a lot of stuff that was Rick inspired or Rick related. I've got a friend. I didn't see it, but I've got a friend who had a friend called Roger Prick, who's on. I didn't miss him because he's or her rather, at the same time as Alexi. I think he's a drag king, but apparently that was like very Rick inspired. But anyway, I think that's wouldn't be a festival issue. That would be a legal issue. I think it would. I'm guessing what you're talking about, something using the characters, which would very much be in the same realm as fan fiction. So I think it would be a case of you can, as long as you aren't charging money or making any money from it. So if you were doing that for fun with some fans as a free event, legally, I think you could. I don't know if the festival would be into it, but I mean, because like there isn't anything like that on at the moment. But honestly, mate of mine, I mean, me and my mates are kind of engaged in kind of like the online neurodivergent female aspect of fandom, like fan fiction. So we're all familiar with fan fiction and fan art and that sort of not we're not on I'm not on Tumblr, but that's that kind of Tumblr core um aspect of online fandom and like female online fandom. So we were surprised there wasn't a costume contest put on by the like obviously Talking Bottom did one, but like that was part of the quiz. So we were surprised there wasn't like a proper one. Mitch Benn performs fan written Bottom and Blackadder plays written by his wife. Massive shout out. I don't have a picture of him here, but massive shout out to Mitch Benn. I talked to him and he was just the loveliest man. He was supposed to do a load of shows at the Working Men's Club, but then when that closed down, he was no longer able to do them. Well, he was able to do them, but he was basically in every venue. Like each of his shows, like a load of shows, and they were each in a different venue because he had to sort of fit in where he could fit in. He did the after party that in the St Andrews Hotel. It was very out of the way, and in the end, hardly anyone ended up going because people who were there for Peter. I mean, a lot of people didn't know it was on. Also because it started before Peter but ended after Peter. So yeah, I don't really know what's happened there, but yeah, it's a real shame that's what happened. But he was so lovely. I ended up buying. He was selling. A lot of you guys are familiar. I think will be familiar with the fan artist Happy Toast, who when I was using Twitter still, a very popular artist on there, and he's done a load of collaborations with Mitch Benn. So Mitch Benn was selling his prints in the Old Cock, and he like I said, I'm not involved with like the festival directly, but I had been doing some other stuff for the festival, and when they found that out, he not only gave me the festival volunteer discount, he also gave me a free one because he'd done a sketch about Kevin Turvey being Rick's walk-on role in American Werewolf in London. Sorry, I'm just drawing the curtains. They'd drawn a picture of Kevin Turvey turning into a werewolf, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was inspired by someone saying online that they like to think that that's Kevin Turvey in American Werewolf in London." And I was like, "Oh, I think I was the person who'd written that comment." So he not only did I buy another 3, but he also gave me one for free. Before I bought them as the others as well. He just gave me this free one. It's like, well, I suppose I owe you royalties. So yeah, really lovely guy. I don't have a picture of him to put up, annoyingly, to hand, but so you must be wondering who. I'll take that banner down. You must be wondering who this guy is. This is MJ Simpson. He's a former film reviewer. I think he used to like write for film magazines. I think he used to write film reviews for, and he wrote this book called The Films of Rick Mayall. He was doing a book launch. It was a self-published book. And I really recommend this book. I think you can tell it's self-published from like the design and the layout. There are definitely opinions I disagree with, especially his write-up of the Snow Queen. My God, do I disagree with it. But then again, he's a film reviewer. I'm sure he's, like I said before, I'm sure he will have seen worse. There's definitely worse out there. But he has seen every one of Rick's films, and so much of it is like unknown to people. I mean, even to like major Rick fans, so much of it isn't well known. There's a great one I watched the other day, which I'm definitely going to review. It's called Remember Me, which is a film of Rick and Robert Lindsay. And this film just ended up being completely. It was made at Ealing Studios. It's the last film. Ealing have made films since then, but I think it was the last film made at their actual studio. And it ended up going straight to video. And out of all the films he'd seen, he said that was the one where he's like, "Oh, people should seek this out because it's something that people won't have heard of and won't have seen." And it's one of those things where you're like, I mean, it's probably the quality of like a good TV movie, rather than a feature film, but it's like a cinematic film, but it's still a good film. I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it. It's called Remember Me. Oh, and Imelda Staunton is in it. And it's a major role from Rick. It's interesting because it's one where Rick doesn't get angry until much later in the film. But yeah, I definitely recommend this book. I've been reading it at the moment, and he's a really nice guy. There was a Drop Dead Fred screening. I had to leave because of the filming was happening at the beginning of this. For the news thing was happening at the beginning of the screening. And also I had to go off and check on something for a friend. So I ended up missing the Drop Dead Fred itself. But I did get to see the short they showed at the beginning, which is Don't Fear Death, which is a short film that Rick did. It's one of the last things he did, and apparently the irony is not lost in the family that one of the last things he did before he died was about death. And it's a really funny, well animated short film. I cannot remember the guy's full name. It's Louis something, or Lewis something. But definitely look this up. It is really funny. It's on YouTube. It's very easy to find. It's brilliant. Okay, so Lewis Hudson, thank you, Eleni. Thank you in general for all of the finding people. Eleni is an absolute joy. Do follow her on Instagram. She's absolutely wonderful. And hopefully, I really hope that you do another Bolden thing next year. Don't know if you heard me talking about your show earlier, but in terms of like the actual, of course, when you asked me what the highlights were, I was like the people. But in terms of the actual shows I saw, yours was absolutely the highlight, the best thing there, hands down. Okay, so that evening we had Nigel Planer doing Young Once, which was basically it was his book tour. So it was one of the longer shows there. Of course, all the fringe shows are about an hour, but some of the headliners were longer, and so this one had an interval in the middle, and it was so he was reading his the first act was him doing some readings from his autobiography. And he says, "Thank you. That really means a lot." She's a really good friend. Eleni's wonderful. Stacey said, "Do you think there will be a biographical movie about Rick Mayall, and who'd be the best actor to portray him?" I think that would be. I think that would be difficult. I mean, especially. I think. I don't know what the response from the family would be, and therefore I don't know how easy it would be to get off the ground. I mean, obviously, I mean, it's also they don't have to worry about like music rights, like with the music biopic. I mean, of course, that David Bowie film biopic came out a few years ago where his estate refused to give any songs to the production. So, of course, it's very easy for them to make one without the approval of the family. But I don't know if it would be considered too recent on one hand. I mean, especially as Rick's alcoholism was only made public very recently. I believe I'm right in thinking that it was Aid's book that made it public. So, and of course, the family talked about his children talked about it in the recent documentary. So it could be made now. I don't know but I don't know if it's too recent for people. But yeah, I think there's enough there. I mean, especially this is obviously quite a horrible and cynical thing to say, but in terms of there were enough lows in his life for that to be for it to be a dramatic film. I think there's enough material there. But anyway. Hello, Davy B. Davy B is one of my wonderful patrons. I forgot to say, Lewis is one of my patrons as well. One of my members. I have memberships on Ko-fi and Patreon and YouTube as well. YouTube ones are slightly more expensive because they take a much bigger cut. But Ko-fi is what gives me the most money, but of course I understand that a lot of people already have Patreon accounts. So I do post exclusive content, not enough exclusive content, but I do post some. So I only have 4 members, but they're all top tier members, which is wonderful. So yeah, hello to you, Davey. Anywho, so the second half of Nigel Planer's show was him talking to him doing a Q&A with the audience. There's a really lovely story of the day that Rick died. There was the cab drivers were protesting against Uber, and when he went, and the streets were just packed with black cabs. They were, as part of the protests, just filled up the bridges and stuff. And he said, as he walked the streets of London that day, every cab driver that he passed said, "I'm sorry for your loss." And it said, it felt, it wasn't the reason why, but it did feel like it was there for Rick, or like it was, like it was like a state funeral, But I can't remember, was that in the documentary? I can't remember. And yeah, Peter then came out. He just unannounced walked up onto the stage from the lighting box. I didn't realize Peter was hiding in the lighting box for the second act. But yeah, he just walked down and said hello, and then walked back up. And afterwards, he was like, "Oh my God, what was I doing? I was that I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have gone and stolen the limelight." But that was a really special moment for the audience. So I'm really glad that happened. So that was really special. I did see someone I think someone shared with me that someone posted on Instagram with the picture of that, and also the fact that they'd asked Nigel Planer to sign a copy of Carry On Columbus, and he did, and Peter had refused. So yeah, sorry, Carry On fans. Peter will point blank refuse to sign something Carry On themed. He fucking hates the Carry Ons. Oh no, he doesn't hate the Carry Ons. He fucking hates Carry On Columbus. He really hates Carry On Columbus. He does like the Carry Ons. He nearly made one. He nearly made Carry On London, but the money fell through 2 weeks before they started filming, and it was whilst they were building sets and everything. So he does like Carry Ons. That was a slip of my tongue. Just like the Carry Ons. He doesn't like Carry On Columbus. He thinks it was awful, and he thinks he was awful in it. The second point I do agree with, actually. He was the weakest in it, but he was really miscast, and you could tell that I think Peter's someone where if he's in a role where he doesn't know what he's doing, you can tell, and that's one of those roles. And also, 40 isn't old, but casting a 40-year-old as the young romantic side plot character, like, so strange. Lee says, "Yes, I am a top tier patron supporter, and I recommend supporting Chances Essays on Patreon." Thank you. Okay. So still on the Thursday. This was the Friday. I think it's the only thing I saw on the Friday. This was Alexi Sale. He wasn't doing a show really. He was just doing one of those in conversation with type things. So Robin Ince was interviewing him. I was really disappointed that I missed Robin's show. I do sort of know Robin personally. He's kind of like a friend of the family. So I did try and meet up with him, but he was off to another festival the next day. And I'd missed. I was I think I was just really exhausted actually during. So I couldn't go to a show. But yeah, he was. He's a really lovely guy. But anyway, he was interviewing Alexi, and Robin's a really brilliant interviewer. He interviews Peter on most of his shows, and he's really knowledgeable, and he's really talkative, but not in a way that takes over the interview. Like this is a deep cut, but it's not like Morag in the Glam Metal Detectives, where he doesn't make it about him. He's just like, oh yeah, so seeing this thing for the first time, I realized this. So I really want to ask you this question. And it's not, he doesn't ask the same. I've seen him interview Peter so many times. He pretty much never asks the same stuff. Like he's so brilliant, and he's so in it's completely off the cuff, and he's just kind of he's got ADHD for anyone who doesn't know, and he's recently written a book about neurodivergence, and he just has this wonderful curiosity and sense of fascination. Um, but I'm aware I'm talking more about Robin Ince than Alexi right now. Alexi was brilliant. It was really lovely. He was just telling a lot of anecdotes. Someone asked a question about Rick, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's the reason I'm here." But yeah, Alexi's brilliant. I definitely recommend seeing anything he does if you get to see him. I saw him recording his radio show. I can't even remember. Yeah, it was what? Yeah, it was last year because Trump was elected in 2020, re-elected in 2024, and he was talking about it because it was going to be released in early 2025. But I saw him late 2024. That was brilliant. The first time I've kind of seen him live doing his like stand-uppy stuff. Um, I have met him through Peter. He's a really, really lovely guy. But yeah, it's just really fascinating talk about the early days of the comic strip and that kind of thing. Um, and here's the last day, lovely Eleni and Peter. So of course Eleni interviewed Bob Baldwin. Peter didn't have anyone to interview him at all. So after he messaged Robin like last minute, and Robin was like, "Oh, sorry, that day I'm in, I think it was in Exeter, maybe doing a book festival there." Robin's for those who don't know, he's a former stand-up. He does poetry now, as well as doing all these interviewee things and panel show things. But he's lovely, and but anyway, he's like, "Oh, sorry, I can't do it. I'm away." So, um, I'd mentioned that a few days earlier, after I was telling him all about the wonderful show that Eleni did with Bob Baldwin, and he was like, "Oh, well, Eleni could do my one, can't she?" And I was like, "What?" Because Eleni's show wasn't like an unscripted show. I mean, it wasn't scripted, but like she'd really properly planned out, because they were showing videos during the interview. She and Bob really thoroughly planned out how the show was going to work. And it had been really, really stressing her out. So I was contemplating whether or not to ask her in the first place, because like I didn't want to cause her more stress. The stress had just ended. Um, but so she was, but yes, but she did take it on, and she really, well, I hope she did. She really enjoyed it. So they didn't. It was a much longer show last time. I think they showed 3 films on a compilation. This film, it was just one film on a compilation. Well, it had like a little trailer thing at the beginning, but it was a one compilation of Rick and one film. Oh, Lenny, not gonna lie, was crapping myself when you asked me, but extremely glad I said yes. Thank you both for having such faith in me to do it. Oh, you're very welcome, Han. Thank you for doing it. So, and Peter had seen Alexi's show the night before, and he'd gone, "Oh, because he talked about like Lexi talked about like the origins of the comic strip, and he gone, "Oh, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about the origin." So Peter never plans out his interviews, but I think it was just kind of being around the family. I think at this stage so Bonnie was only there for like the she was there for like the 2 days that Red was there. Um but I think he knew that Bonnie was going to be there that day. So I think maybe that was the pressure put on him, and it being a Rick thing. Because I mean, it's kind of stating the obvious, but Ricks are massively important person to Peter. You know, they were very close. Like, I suppose not so many people know that they were very close friends towards the end because they accidentally bought farms next door to each other, which just sounds like it's like there's no way that happened by accident, but it did. They accidentally. I can't remember. I think it might have been Rick who moved down there first. So Peter accidentally bought a farm next to Rick's. Peter's like, we could have fallen out over water rights. But so yeah, he's so I think maybe it's the fact that he knew that Bonnie was in the audience, maybe, or just the fact that it was a Rick thing and it's so important. But he decided he planned out and wrote out what he was going to talk about beforehand, which I've never seen him do before. He always just like goes up and he's kind of more interested in like the questions the audience are going to ask him, if anything. But yeah, so yeah, it was so strange that he did that, but it was so lovely, and he stood up for the whole for this whole bit he did at the beginning. He stood up. He actually stands up at the back of a lot of his gigs. He will just be stood up at the back there. I've just realized I don't think I've shared this live stream to the comic strip subreddit, which is really stupid of me. I mean, I was sharing it during the stream, but let's see. I'll do that now. Where has it gone? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so it was strange. But yeah, it was really wonderful. But yeah, I can't remember if I finished my sentence even. The back of a lot of his screenings, he will watch it standing up. But that's mainly because he's watching the audience, if anything. Although partially I do wonder if it's just him not wanting to sit down because everyone else is sitting down and he doesn't do what he's told. But anyway, so yeah, then the Q&A was really lovely. Bonnie asked a question. She asked about anecdotes that made like, does he have any stories that made him laugh? And it was one about Rick, about them going for a walk together. I've heard the anecdote retold recently. I think it might have been on Talking Bottom. Talking Bottom just did a video about the festival in general, because they were about to release their Paul Jackson videos. I'm really interested in their Paul Jackson videos. I must watch them. But sorry, Peter. So yeah, there's this lovely story of him and Rick going on a walk together, and thinking up, headlines of it's gonna be when they die, and it is and then Peter fell into quicksand quicksand or a sinkhole or something, and Rick was just fell about laughing, which is just the most Rick thing. And Peter was like, get me out. And when Rick finally composed himself, he did pull Peter out. But then of course they were like, oh, that's it. Sick Rick laughs as TV friend drowns in swamp. So that's a really lovely anecdote. So yeah, if you want a much quicker video about the festival, go to Talking Bottoms video. The anecdote, Lou here, that anecdote about them having farms next to each other is so funny. I never knew so many comedy legends lived in my neck of the woods. Yeah, also like the rest of the comic strip guys moved there because basically it was kind of because of, the schools weren't as good in London. I don't know if that's still the case. But the state schools weren't as good in London, so they all moved to the countryside. And they and of course, once one of them moved and knew what the schools were like, and I think Rick and Peter had kids younger than the other ones, because of course Aidan Jennifer's oldest was born in 85. Not sure about because Dawn and Lenny adopted a kid, didn't they? Don't know when they had her. Keith, I think Keith had Lily around the mid 80s, because I think there's an anecdote about Nigel in Spain with Lily, and I think that's when she was a baby. I think that was when they were making Fun Seekers rather than Fistful, because I know the story about them Keith traveling to Fistful, and I don't think Lily was there in that anecdote. But yeah, anyway, so loads of them moved to Devon. Just because, you know, that's where their friends were, and because the schools were there. And this is Eleni's wonderful coat from jacket, Drop Dead Fred jacket. And this was painted by, I don't think she's watching actually. I didn't send anything to Discord. So I think she would have missed it. But yeah, she's only 15 or 16, and she painted this. Her name's Charlotte. Charlotte paints a lot. Yes, I don't think I think that she's still got that Instagram account, but she no longer. She had a shop for a little while, but she's just gone from being. She's just started like sixth form college. So I think she's just been focusing on her studies and stuff for that. But it's such amazing work. I think she was 15 when she made this. It was incredible. And she made an amazing jacket for Peter. I did share some pictures of it at some point last year. I think Peter had it with him at the Fringe. But yeah, it's an amazing jacket. There's a bunch of Lenny with that's Stuart who runs the festival. Annoyingly, there's two Stuarts who are in charge of like running the festival, and also two Anns who run the Norbury. And both of the Anns are short older ladies with short grey hair. I can't remember. I think they might both have glasses as well, but I can't remember. But so it's difficult. So if someone says, "Oh, I spoke to Anne," which one? Well, of course you don't know their surnames, but yeah, that's all I have in terms of pictures. So yeah, does anyone else have any questions for me about the Rick Mayall Comedy Festival, or about Droitwich, or anything like that? Let's see, did I have anything else that I was thinking of showing? Although I didn't finish showing. I didn't finish showing this video, so I'll just pop this on whilst I think how much not much left of this. So here's the bottom display. This is the museum from last year. Drop Dead Fred there. Yeah, this is just the end of the video. But show the whole thing anyway. Thank you very much, Eleni. So yeah, I think I'll finish it there, guys. But yeah, I think that I'm pretty certain that there will be a Rick Mayall Comedy Festival next year. Like, am I 100% certain? No, because it's not down to me. But I am pretty certain that there will be one, regardless of who is doing it, because it's such a great thing for the town. But yeah, so thank you very much, guys, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.